Okay, what's up, WordPress Warriors? Patrick Gallagher here, Monday, April 17th. Just a quick one here. Want to cover a couple things briefly, and then I'll introduce the security wizards. There's been just tons and tons and tons of questions about pricing. And so I just want to break this down real quick and just direct everybody to the pricing page. We have a much more updated FAQ here all the way at the bottom, which just specifically breaks these things down. If I ever get there. So when is the renewal date? How does all this pricing work? So this pricing up here is locked in for what it is that you buy. Okay. So if you buy 50 websites, you're locked in at $500 a year. You're locked in at $10 a site. That price. Okay. But here's the deal. Obviously, as Calvin continues to add value to this thing going forward, and as Calvin continues to raise prices on retail people buying new stuff, this new sites added later will not always have this price. Every single thing that you buy right now does lock this price in for the life of your account. But if you need 600 sites, you may want to buy 2 packages of 300 right now. Okay. You will want to buy that to get that best possible price. So here's what we're going to do, because we've already said in different threads and in different forums, you'll be able to add more sites, but eventually there may come a point where additional sites have a newer, higher price. You will always have some kind of discount off of whatever the new tiered retail price is. But basically what we broke this down to is that, your renewal date is 1 year from the date of purchase. How do additional sites work in the future? So anyone who purchases this deal and then more sites beyond their package limit will get the same tier per site pricing for the next year. And actually, we've cushioned it a little bit more. So until May 1st, 2024, beyond that date, sites beyond your package limit will most likely become more expensive. So theoretically, you can lock in this price, the per site price, for up to what did we say it was, 729 days? Because theoretically, it's actually even more than that, because it's extended to May 1st. So if you wanted to just add
maybe so that it's crystal clear, no questions left. Maybe the example that we had. So if you buy the 500 plan today, then you have a locked in rate of $10 per site per year. And if you buy a new site at for example, if you buy 10 sites more, half a year from now, half a year from the future, you will have you have that price locked in for a year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So the best thing to do would be to renew all of your licenses before May 1st of next year. Okay. And then that will be the way that you lock in the best price for the longest period of time. But again, whatever you buy here, you are locked into that for the life of your account. Okay. And then you get roughly 2 years to add additional sites at that price as well.
So maybe to drive this home, I'd say if you buy 50 sites at this offer, and then you buy 50 sites on April 30th, 2024. You will have those 50 sites for another year, even if 1 day after that, the price per site increases.
Exactly.
If that makes sense.
So hopefully, once and for all, we've sort of put that to bed. And now what I'm going to do is turn this over to them, because we are adding in a new special bonus that at the very least, the content itself is going to benefit everybody. Okay. This new interesting thing that they're going to be doing over the coming weeks and months, that content is going to benefit everybody in the GridPane community, no matter whether they're Fortress customers or not. But if you are at the $500 a year tier, if you've purchased before this promo ends, you're also going to get something that's really cool that we've never before offered, which I think is super useful, and it really checks the final box in having a truly layered approach around all of these different security concepts that we're talking about right now. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Calvin, and let you explain the missing link of what it is that Fortress does not do and why it does not do it.
Yes. Wait, let me.
And I'll stop sharing my screen.
So, wait, let me adjust my view option real quick. There we go. So, a lot of you have asked in the group and also me privately, like what do I do about malware scanning? Like, what is the link? What do you recommend? What is the connection? And to circle back how this works with Fortress, we got a pretty interesting criticism, if you will, in the admin about group, where we talked a little bit about Fortress. I'm not going to name names right now, but if you want, you can go look it up and find it. Where we were told that any plugin, so any WordPress security plugin that does not offer security and does not offer malware scanning at the plugin level should be regarded as suspicious, because it's not they're not willing to do the hard work. So to bring that back together with Fortress, the reason we're not doing secure malware scanning is because it's fundamentally impossible to do that at a plugin, because typically malware that's get uploaded to WordPress sites is running at the WordPress or plugin level. So what happens is the malware that is uploaded can either straight up delete the malware scanner or manipulate the malware scanner in that way that it's whitelisted itself. So it's fundamentally impossible. And we already made that clear, and that's our opinion. But some people, like, they disagreed with that. So Thomas and I decided that, like, we're going to settle this debate, like, hopefully once and for all, on why doing security and malware scanning at the plugin level is not really a good option that you'd want to use or that you want to rely on. And Thomas has a pretty unique solution for that. Maybe you want to introduce that real quick, and then we're going to talk about later, like, what specifically you're going to talk about in our bonus.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Tom Raef. You guys can call me Tom. You don't have to call me Thomas.
Thank God. All these wasted syllables.
Okay, Patrick.
Yeah, you can't call me Pat.
Yeah. I started We Watch Your website. Many of you I've had conversations with, either online or over the phone, or some form of communication about malware scanning and security. And real quick, I started back in 2007. I was a Bluehost customer. They contacted me and said, "Hey, we need help. We see that you're hosted with us. How'd you like us to send you some more people?" And they started sending everybody that called in with malware. They started sending them to us. So, people always doubt when I make the claim that we've now removed malware from over 5 million websites. And people are like, "Oh, that means you would have to be doing blah, blah, blah." Anyway, yeah, we have. It's automated. It's not on the server. So it's offline, off the server. So the things that Calvin talked about, where hackers can log in, and not only can they have, we've documented 2 situations in particular where the most popular website security plugin was being manipulated because hackers took it apart, figured out how they could whitelist their own malware, and then let it keep going. And it totally bypassed the scanning. Ours is not installed on your server because for that very reason. They could manipulate the system, so to speak, and get their stuff whitelisted and never detected. So not only that, but we use 3 different types of scanners. We've got the one that pretty much everybody uses, signature based, although I've been told that our corpus of malware samples that I've collected since 2007 is quite possibly the largest sampling of website malware in the world. So we use signature based, but we also use anomaly detection and behavior analysis. And those 2 cannot be installed on your web servers because it would consume vast resources and just slow your sites down. So you would have to beef up your servers just for our systems to run. And that just never made sense to me. So we do it offline. It's incredibly fast. Per malware file, we can detect and remediate it under 4 seconds. And I've got...
And if you were to implement something similar in PHP, like, it's just the nature, PHP is not a compiled language. If you were to do that in a plugin, it would take way longer and would completely tank your site's performance during those scans.
Yeah. So we use the Linux system and some of our own magic to make it all happen. But it runs, the agent that runs on your server is compiled C code, so it's about as fast as you can get. And like I said, I've got a huge bank of servers that can handle loads. So even if hackers were to upload like a zip file and unzip it, and it's, we've seen some as with over 10,000 files in a zip file.
So it basically go down immediately.
Yeah, it remediates it, quite fast. So
So to add a little bit of context in case people missed it, because Thomas was talking about all of these things are not on your server. Specifically, all of his scanning and remediation is happening on his systems external to your system. But what is running on your server is that compiled C code, which basically ingests your site into his systems and then also keeps track of any new changes, and it keeps track of access logs and things like this.
Even the database is important to mention, because in WordFence, WordPress is so dependent on the database that in many cases you can inject malware by manipulating the database in a specific way. So you don't have any file modifications. So all file-based scanners completely are useless for that anyway. And then you have the malware basically stored in the database. So this is also, Thomas is also monitoring any single change to your database by analyzing the MySQL log files. And this is also why I always tell people, like, I would never ever run any of those code snippet plugins, because everything that they do is they store your code snippets in the database. And if somebody could change your database, they could literally create a code snippet stored in your database that is totally malicious or gives them complete access on the box. And the next time your code snippet plugin loads, well, you basically owned. But a malware scanner could never detect that because it's not in the file. Like, the file does not contain the malware literally, if that makes sense.
And we're also monitoring the processes too, because one of the most recent, they've been noticing it for over 6 months now, but hackers will upload a file typically called lock 360. They upload it, they run it. It's a PHP file. They run it, so it's running in memory. Then they delete the file. So you could malware scan all you want, but your server is still being used to attack other sites. And you could run every malware scanner in the world, and it's not going to find it because it's a running process. So, and
you also have to say that most WordPress hackers are not that smart to do this, but you better bet that there are some that will make all these plugin-based tools make them look completely stupid. Like, maybe in a different universe where I'm a black hat hacker, it would be extremely easy for me to manipulate that in a way that you would never even detect that your malware scanner has been altered. So and this is basically a little bit what Thomas and I are going to talk about later. Obviously, we won't share source code of how we did it, but because that would literally then raise the skill level of your average WordPress hacker and would be harmful. But we will show that this is fundamentally not possible in a plugin, and why you need a solution that Thomas has basically. So we will walk through that. Maybe we still haven't quite 100% decided on the format, but maybe we maybe we just choose some popular scanners and basically show why this is not working fundamentally.
Yep. Yeah, so I think the idea of this malware madness obviously sort of came out of March Madness here, NCAA basketball in the United States, but then also the plugin madness that was put on by Torque Magazine, which shockingly, the people who own Torque Magazine also own the people who won the contest host. It doesn't matter. So anyway, we were thinking we'll do some kind of head-to-head competition. It probably will be relatively moot as to whether or not we actually have some kind of bracket, because I think they're all going to lose. So I don't know how we'll determine a winner. I think the winner will just always be malware. Malware just wins every single time when scanned at the plugin level. So all of that content, again, is going to be just immediately made available to everybody in the WordPress community, in the GridPane community. And obviously we hope it'll get shared further out so that people can become more and more educated about this. But the bonus, the additional bonus here is, and we've, just as we're still working through exactly what the streamlining, the implementation and the installation of the Fortress plugin will be, we've got to figure out how we want to do this next bit as well. But anybody that's at the that purchases the $500 level or above during this promo, they are also going to get that Thomas's scanning capability added to their servers, okay, at no additional charge. And so we're going to figure out exactly whether it is that we're going to be installing that on Thomas's behalf, whether we're going to, you're going to need to opt in and just say, yes, Thomas's team has access to put these things on my box. We'll figure out the specifics of that in short order. But the big takeaway here is everybody's going to become more and more educated no matter what, even if you're a free user on Core and you don't touch Fortress at all. But everybody at $500 or above is going to get access to this free scanning capability. And again, these things layered together with, as we get closer and closer and closer to like immutable file system, Fortress is running, Thomas's thing is running, we're starting to get into seriously diminishing returns territory. And before we wrap up here, maybe you guys could speak for just a minute or two, Calvin, on like the question that you asked Thomas, that, okay, well, what if the malware hijacks your thing? What happens there? How does that work?
Sorry, the malware hijacks what? My plugin?
Yeah, so you had asked Thomas a question where it was basically like, what if there's malware hackers that detect that your system is in place, and then they just short circuit your scanning utility? Just
yeah.
So plugin layer. This was a question that Thomas, or that Calvin asked Thomas, and
so yeah, while I was discussing these things with Thomas, like I kept elaborating, asking the right sort of questions, and basically Thomas had the solution for everything exactly how I imagine it. So the issue always with malware scanning is if the malware can somehow trick or alter the scanner itself. So this is taken care of by running the malware scanner as a different user than the web server, if that makes sense. So if your web server user can't modify the source files of the scanner, then you can't, like the web server, if there's a malware running at the web server level, can't modify the scanner because it's a different user permission on your box. But then I asked Thomas, okay, look, so what happens if I upload a plugin and then, for example, somehow you're on your end, and I'm sure a lot of you are doing this, and this is also really important, never run WP-CLI commands as root, never. Literally never ever type in the -- allow root command flag when you run WP-CLI commands, because what happens is if you run your WP-CLI commands, this will load your plugins. So this means that the malware is then running as root, and they could open a reverse shell or whatever, and they could also just completely wipe Thomas's C agent that is running on the server, sending off your file modifications. So they could delete the scanner. I asked him, okay, so how do you handle this scenario? And what he said is, maybe should I?
Maybe you take it from here, Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, what we do is we ping the all of our services from time to time, and just make sure that we're still connected, even though we're not seeing anything on our end. Maybe there's something that happened, like Kelvin said, or the server's having problems, whatever the case may be. So we're always checking our services to make sure that something's, that our things are running. And with the access logs, we'll ping the server with a special agent, and then we look in our system will detect that coming through on your log files that get streamed to our servers live. And we'll be able to tell by the special agent, yes, the site's still up. So we know that, that's one thing we don't have to worry about. But all of our services, we ping on a regular basis, and just to make sure that they're up and running, even when there's no traffic coming to your site.
maybe to add, this is also like really important, like a really important example on why this is not that ideal to implement in PHP or any other non-compiled language, because at that point, like even if an attacker has his malware running at root, realistically he could only completely nuke your malware, your scanner, or stop it from running. But because it's compiled C code, he can't view the source and somehow whitelist his malware, basically. If it's a PHP-based scanner, you could literally whitelist one specific file because you can always see the source code in clear text and modify it. But if it's running the way Thomas's program is running, well, you can't reverse that, or very, very, very difficult. I wouldn't know how to do it, like off the top of my head. This is also like fundamentally why this is best not to be done in PHP.
Yeah, yeah. All right, guys. Well, super cool stuff. So we will add these to the pricing page, and we'll probably get some questions about it. And then, yeah, we'll figure out exactly what we want to do with the format of this malware madness. But I'm sure you guys will come up with some interesting ways to.
Also, if you have any further questions, please make sure to ping us directly in the Facebook comment, because at this point the thread is so large that it's really difficult to find new comments if we're not tagged in it. So we might not see it if you don't tag either of us specifically with our username.
Yep. Yep. All right, fellas, I think that's a wrap for now. And Calvin, we have to immediately go in like 7 minutes and be on another one. All right. So yeah, we'll talk soon, guys. I appreciate your time as always. And yeah, thanks. Thanks for your time for those of you following along at home. So cheers.